Okay, Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. It is Saturday already, October 4th, believe it or not. A little after 10 a.m. So let's get started. Let's see if we have any questions. Anyone?
Grand Rising, Ron. This is Evelyn. I have a question.
Grand Rising, how are you?
I'm doing great. In honor to the ancestors.
Okay.
Um, do you think that the world is fatigue, feeling of fatigue, emotion? And the reason why I ask that because I feel fatigue at sometimes, and I'm just thinking, you think the world is having a fatigue effect because of what's happening in the earth and with the current affairs?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
If you don't mind, for me, because I'm feeling kind of weird myself, describe what you feel to me. I'm just kind of curious.
Okay. I feel drained. I feel discombobulated a lot of times. I feel sometimes, and I'm saying feel because I know that's not who I am. It
Hmm.
feels like a weight is on me. And yeah, sometimes I have to watch because I'll start getting anxious about things. And yeah, that's kind of it.
Okay.
Mainly drained, though. I mainly feel tired a lot, but that's it.
Is there anybody else that feels that way, or if you don't
I
mind
I
discussing?
don't feel tired, but I feel out of sorts. Something is impending. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
That something is on the verge of breaking. Um, and I'm experiencing a force that I cannot articulate, but I know it's different than anything I've experienced before. And I'm not usually I will read something or my mind can reviews things over and over, but it doesn't. And I've had experiences in my sleep that I cannot explain, and they're not they were not necessarily pretty either. But
Yeah.
the overwhelming feeling or experience that I'm having is that there is something major that's impending. And as Evelyn said about being a bit anxious, I can agree with that in terms of my feelings as well. I'm not frightened by it, but
Yeah.
it's a somber feeling.
The only thing I would add to my feelings is I'm having periodically to fight off depression, like something just wants to weigh me down and just kind of take over, and I can't allow that. But I've had feelings like this journey for me is over. You've come as far as you can come, kind of thing, and I have to push past it. Just kind of weird, that's all.
Now, I've had depressive feelings, experiences. I've dealt with that during the course of this week and actually a portion of last week as well. Um, I'm not feeling a doomsday experience. It's not what's
Mhm.
happening. It, it's like something is about to erupt. It's just beneath the surface. I don't feel like I've come as far as I can go, as much as I feel like we're at the point where a huge sense of a huge something is about to manifest itself in a huge way, and I don't think it's pretty at all. Um, it's like a convergence of
Hmm.
forces, and they are about to explode, and people are about to see the realness of what we have been uncovering, and a realness about what is going to take in order to make sure that the earth itself remains balanced or becomes more balanced, I should say. Maybe I don't know. I'm looking for words. I'm looking for adjectives to describe what I'm trying to say. And
But
I want to ask this question, Ron. Is there
yes, sir.
anyone else who's experiencing this?
This is Vermel. Um, I feel like we're in the midst of a major change. That's the only way I know how to put it. In Evelyn's, and I also feel what Evelyn's saying in terms of feeling a bit more tired. Not to a point where I feel exhausted or anything, but I do notice the tiredness. Um, yeah, that's about where I am. But for the most part, I feel like I'm waiting for something to happen, like it's gonna happen, even though I don't know what it is.
I want to rephrase something I said. I don't feel like I've reached my limit kind of thing, but I feel like there's something that doesn't want me to go further. It's like you need to quit now before before you get hurt or before you see something or go beyond where you need to be. Something wants me to stop. And it doesn't really scare me, but it is kind of concerning, I guess. Makes me feel a little anxious.
Run. This is Kathy. See, Kathy. I
Hey,
saw you in the spirit turning your back to some things. I don't know what it is, but I
mhm.
saw you turning your back to some things. And Reverend Richards, I saw you going somewhere, but I don't know where you were going. But the people were waiting for you. I don't know where it was at, but I saw it in the spirit this morning. Ron, I saw you on Monday.
Okay.
Saw
Thank you.
Reverend Richards this morning.
Can I ask, Ron, what does further mean to you or
Uh,
anyone else who feels similarly?
it's almost like and I'm not using maybe the right words. It's almost like I'm on a journey and I'm walking through the woods and something says, you better turn back now because you've seen enough. You don't want to keep going because there's something here that you can't deal with. And it wants me to turn around and all kind of, well, thoughts go through my head, because it doesn't scare me, but it just gets me a little agitated, I guess. And makes it kind of depresses me a little bit. So that's it. It's almost like there's something that is unknown that for some reason part of me wants me to turn around or stop pursuing what we're doing is what I take it as uh for whatever reason. And it may be because we're close to a breakthrough or close to seeing something we've been pursuing. I don't know because I don't really know what what we're pursuing, what it's supposed to look like, you know. But just weird.
You
It
had
just
any dreams or anything like that recently that seemed significant?
oh none that I remember, Nick, and my dreams seem to be pleasant because I wake up in a good mood. So I'm assuming my dreams are pleasant. I feel like I'm dreaming. I've had dreams, but I don't remember them.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I just wanted
You.
to ask because I think I think there's two ways to interpret that or understand that feeling of sort of feeling like you shouldn't go forward, whether that comes from you or something outside of yourself. If it, and it's, I think, applies to maybe all of us, because I think what we're all dealing with in various ways is twofold. It is how to penetrate deeper into the nature of our own self, and it is how to be in the world but not of it,
Yeah.
despite being the pressure being increased and increased and increased, because the spiritual atmosphere of the United States is very much a pressure cooker. So in the first case, where it might be that is that a feeling that comes from not knowing how to progress, or feeling like you shouldn't progress, or something like that,
Mhm.
in terms of penetrating deeper into the nature of the self, I believe that might have to do with, it's either a sort of internal test, in that even though you feel that way, you must press forward, or two, it is a internal message, meaning that there's things that you need to deal with in order to keep going in a balanced way, as it relates to knowing the self. In which, either of those cases, the solution, for lack of a better term, is, if you want to progress further in what this spiritual development is to simply examine yourself, get to know yourself better. And that sounds kind of vague, but for example, the reason any of us like don't have dreams or don't remember our dreams and stuff like that is usually because of where we are focused during the day, like what our attention is on. If our attention is on the sort of things that capture our attention externally, whatever news story is stressful, whatever situation is stressful, or takes up a majority of our focus, it becomes more difficult to remember what happens in other states of consciousness, because we have trained ourselves to be focused on this thing that is external, or that is, stressful, or whatever it is. It's almost
Yeah.
like we put blinders on ourselves, like a horse, so that when we are in those other environments or other states of consciousness, we basically essentially ignore it. We forget it, because we have trained ourselves to think that it is not useful, or rather, we've trained ourselves to focus on the external thing, or whatever it is causing us that stress, etc.
Yeah.
So it becomes more difficult, and we all go through periods like this um, all the time. But to progress means to learn to be in the world and not of it. So we have to disengage from those things that cause stress, that cause us to want to sort of grasp onto them in a sort of negative way. And given the state of the world and the state of the United States, it's probably a news story, or our awareness of how chaotic and upsetting all this stuff is. So as strange as it might seem, that is what we have to disengage with. You can be aware of it, but there's a point at which we become entangled with it, and at that point, we begin to focus entirely on that and lose awareness of the spirit, essentially. So, a simple way of dealing with it is learning how to just relax yourself. So when we meditate, and there's no best way to meditate, but when we turn our attention inward, we have to find a way to relax and deal with those sort of potential blockages or barriers that we experience, whatever they are. And that could be, anger, fear, stress, trauma, whatever it is that we realize is within us as an experience that we need to deal with. And the more we turn our attention sort of inward and away from those sort of external, generally speaking, whatever is causing us stress in terms of what we encounter in life. The more we turn our attention inward, the more we will build that ability to become aware of those things that take place while we're dreaming in other states of consciousness, etc. It just is a means of it's basically just learning to turn your attention from those things that negative things that want to grab our attention towards something else, and then learning how to basically relax and harmonize ourselves internally. And it is difficult because there's a ton of things that want to grab our attention.
Yeah.
I have trouble with this as well, occasionally, but it is the basic pattern is always, what are you contemplating during the day? Where is your attention during the day? Because that determines where you are attempting to focus it at night when you're asleep. And
Funny you say that, though. I think I've meditated this week, meditation and prayer, more than I have in a while in any one week, any one time. So
in
I
the past
see that.
two or 2.5 weeks, I've been meditating more than I ever have.
Yeah.
Mostly because I've just been lazy, which I apologize for. But I mean, that's, we all have whatever it is we need to focus on.
And I can't put my finger on it, but I know that it's connected to our discussions and where we are. I just feel that.
Yeah. And I'll pause if anybody has any questions, but like the going further in this means in a lot of ways sort of stopping the theory and doing the practice.
Yeah.
It means, okay, we've talked about all these things. We have a sense of our inner selves. We have a sense of our intention and where we can direct it. We're beginning to understand what meditation is and how it affects us. But really, there comes a point at which your theory must become practice. Like you're in the classroom, but you must go out from the classroom and learn from experience. And I feel like that is at some point that becomes the threshold in all spiritual practice. Like you must make these things you speak about. You must discover the reality of these things that we speak about, rather, for yourself.
Yeah.
And it just requires to be aware of your own internal state and to direct your intention towards balance, healing, loving yourself, forgiving yourself, loving and forgiving other people, and sort of integrating that mindset. And we probably heard all those things, but it's another thing to do them. And it is not so much, it's not an intellectual thing in the sense that we try to think, or force it as an act of thinking. It is recognizing, to put it simply, how we actually feel.
Yeah.
And learning to direct our attention at our internal sort of feelings and state, and learning how to release feeling and change how we actually feel. And you don't even have to think in the traditional sense to do that. So I think one of the best things we can do while meditating is to, well, there's a bunch of things you can do, but just learn to be silent and just observe your own feelings.
Hmm.
And then you can ask questions about your feelings, sort of in an intentional way. Why am I stressed? Why am I scared? Why am I frustrated, etc.? And they may or may not have answers that you can actually identify, but the point is the feeling. To release the feeling and direct your attention towards the nature of the self, which is awareness itself. And that is the foundation for the meditative practice, basically.
I like that. Thanks, Nick.
Can I
I'd
speak to
like
something you said earlier, Ron? Oh, go ahead.
Good, Grand Rising. This is Barbara. Thank you. I'd like to just offer something in terms of encouragement for us, because this is a battle, and the battle is an internal battle, and as it has been said, the best way to approach this battle, quote unquote, is to continue understanding that our centeredness, our being balanced, impacts everything that's going on, despite what's seen with the eyes, with the S. There are 3 supermoons that are going to be back to back in October, November, and December. The one in October is supposed to be on the 6th. The one in November is on the 5th. The one in December is the 4th. All of this 10, 6, 20, 25 is 16, or 1 plus 6 or 7. 11, 5, 20, 25 is 16, if you add those together, or 1 plus 6 equals 7. 12, 4, 20, 25 is 16, or 1 plus 7 equals 7. The last supermoon, I think, was November 2024. And so we have 3 or 4 every year, but it's kind of rare to have 3 back to back in a row. And that says to me that in spite of what we see with the eyes, the cosmos has our back, not our literal back, but our spiritual back, meaning there's going to be so much light infusion available to us. Because what happens during this battle is sometimes the light gets drained out, because we're standing in the gap for so many things that are going on in this physical realm, and it drains the current sometimes. But the cosmos has our spiritual back, and is flooding this universe with light that we need. And so that's why the meditation has got to be very important, because this is sort of like refueling for us. And so my words are for us to hang on in there and to continuing on. We're on course. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know Don was about to speak, but may I speak next, Don?
Go ahead.
I had 2 dreams this week, and I shared them earlier with Kathy. I was speaking with her, and I was feeling, as Evelyn said, discombobulated. One of the dreams was, I think it was Tuesday night. I was in this place, this huge building, and it was a church. And I was there to speak. And when I walked into the building, I was going to the office of the pastor. But en route to that office, I met this man who was the pastor. No one told me, but I sensed it. He was like short, squatted man, round pot bellied, dark, but had a beard. And there were those walking with him. And we spoke, and he went to the pulpit, but I was left there. And as I tried to get to the pulpit, I walked into a room. In one room, there were women in that room only. And in another room, I walked on my way to that pulpit. There were men I knew they would do whatever he told them to do, but the women were kind of distraught. But one of the other things was in a room there were children who who had development problems, and all of them was in the house in the same room. And I could see the pulpit, but I could never get to it. And as I tried to maneuver my way to get to it, it was almost like boxes stacked. The building shaped like that. And then all of a sudden, I saw the face of Catherine. I saw other people, us there. I knew it was us who were there, but there were other people as well. And all of a sudden, it's like the corners began to crumble. The whole building crumbled. But I'm standing here and I'm seeing all of you guys, and it affects none of us, but it simply crumbled. And I woke up from that. And the next dream I had was Thursday night. I think it was Thursday anyway. I was at Mount Calvary. They had called me back to preach and actually to resume pastoring them. And when I got there, I couldn't do it. And all of a sudden, I was in a state of uncertainty. I was wrestling with something to the extent that Phoebe woke me up. And I went right back to sleep and went right back into it. And from that church setting, I ended up in a structure. And in this structure, there were weapons, and there were weapons like, there were cylinders like steel rods, but I knew that they were weapons. And I knew that if I had been discovered, that I would be destroyed, or I would be actually killed or arrested. And I saw these men coming through, and they were showing others this weaponry. And again, there I was wrestling, and I was awakened again. Phoebe woke me up, and I sat on the side of the bed for a little while. And I could not, I sat there and I tried to stay awake because I did not want to go back to sleep. It was like a nightmare. And I laid back down and went right back into it again. And in the loft of that place where the cylinder type weapons were, I crawled through that space, and I was in another room. And in that room, there were weapons on the floors. And those weapons were like, the brown, military brown, like the desert colored brown. And there were several of them scattered across the floor. And they had 4 prongs. And in the face of them was a round glass face on these weapons. And I know they were explosive weapons. I sensed that. And they were everywhere. And I knew that they were going to be used. And I saw this off from that. I saw this other building, and children were being taken into that building, and they were being trained to use those weapons. And again, in the midst of that, here I am being awakened again, and a panic. And I go right back to sleep, and I go right back into it, wrestling again. And I don't know what I'm wrestling, why I'm wrestling with it. I'm not afraid. I'm not being threatened, but it was turmoil inside of me. And I'm not talking about it was turmoil in my mind. I'm talking about I was physically actually tossing and turning. And I mean, this went on all night long. Of course, it was more to it than that, but the highlights of those dreams is what I'm sharing. The first one, there was not turmoil like that. I just woke up from that one. But the second one, it was a great battle taking place. And one of the things that brought me to say this is when Kathy Neal said that she had seen me waiting, that people were waiting for me. I was headed someplace. That in itself fits with what I experienced during those two dreams. Um, what they mean, I don't know. And I know that I'm the one who always asks you, what did it mean to you? I don't know exactly what it meant. However, I share them with you because I do know that there is someone who's hearing me now, who this is resonating with, and you have an idea of what's happening. And I would be most appreciative if you would share it. I also, on last evening, I cried out to the universe because I knew that there were things in me that needed to be changed and things that I needed to purge. And I purged them. I dealt with them. Um, they were brought to my attention, and I dealt with them in my. It was almost like I was a recommitment or a strong commitment to the journey that we're on, and the space that I occupy in relationship to the people that have been that the Creator granted me coverage over. Um, I owed it to them to be true to me. And I don't know what that means, to be open, to be clear, to be pure in thought, and to be sure that there is absolutely no wavering in the journey that I'm on, and my thoughts and my expressions. And at the end of that, I was assured that there was no access for me to the Akashic consciousness, but I am it, and always have been and always will be. And regardless of what I face, um, there is that we are going to survive this cataclysmic event, whatever it is that takes place. I'm done.
The thing that rises up in me as you spoke is this concept of a pulpit on the first stream. And what have we traditionally thought that a pulpit represents? A place of power where quote unquote men who are called come to preach quote unquote the gospel. And my question is, the gospel according to who? And the gospel according to what? And you could not reach that pulpit that we have structured in our minds, and the baggage that is overlaid on what that pulpit represents. It's not there anymore. You cannot go back to something that's an illusion, and that's what the pulpit, to me, even now as we talk about Christian nationalism, whatever, that's what the pulpit represents to me. It represents structure. It represents physicality. It represents power that's misappropriated, and you can't go back to that anymore. There's nothing in the pulpit that for me, what resonated is there's no power in that quote unquote pulpit anymore, and the power is in spirituality. When you talked about the children, it reminded me of the same dream that I shared with the group years ago about being in this church and how they were baptizing and et cetera, and somehow we had to extract these children from that. Children represent our thoughts in a way, and so and you talk about children with disability, some type of disability. My question is, could it be that the disability is the perception of being disabled by those who were gathering those children? Because every individual is perfect spiritually, and it's a matter of perception and who's perceiving that disability. there was something else in what you said that I can't remember what you said, but that's what resonated to me, that the solution of what church is, this illusion of spirituality is crumbling. And there's got to be foundational kinds of spiritual fodder in the universe so that people have something to land on, quote unquote, not land on physically, but to capture their thoughts and their minds, and that's what we've got to continue to do. I don't know. We've talked about the very elect being deceived potentially. I'm not even just thinking about the very elect. I'm thinking about so many hundreds of millions of people who or as we have been talking about, Evelyn said, discombobulated, who sees everything crumbling right before their very quote unquote eyes with an S. That somehow we've got to continue to try to uncover the eye within so that they see themselves as greater than all of this physical stuff. I have to think about what you said, because there's so much involved in what you said. And I'm going to stop right there. Thank you.
May I speak?
Thank you.
May I speak?
Sure.
A lot of things. I first thinking about what Ron had said about how we feel right now, and I was talking to a relative of mine, and we both came up under Pastor Richard ever since we were kids, and he had called me over to his house not yesterday, day before yesterday, and he was talking about this woman that he's dating, and he said he's trying to. She's not religious at all. She ain't been in the church, none of that stuff. And he was basically saying that he was cutting things off because she ain't where he is spiritually. And he was like, Don, you know how we would talk. And as he was talking, like, I didn't mean to zone out, but I kind of zoned out. Because he said, you know how we were taught. And when he said that, I got stuck right there. And he went through all kind of religious mumbo jumbo. And he was like, me and her we sit down and we had a moment of truth. And I told her that she wasn't right with God, and look what God had done to me. And I got all this, and I started from nothing, and I got this. All this is because of God. And everything he related to what he had gotten from God was something material. He had talked about his bank account, what he had in his bank account. And the one thing that brought me out of my kind of like being zoned out was he said, and then when I got through talking, I was telling her about God. He said, she told him, we are God. And I started laughing. And I said, this woman ain't been in the church at no time. And the one thing that she said that we are God. Now, she don't know how to articulate it, and she didn't have a clue where that came from, but she knows that she is God. And so when he got finished going through this little rant or whatever, telling me about what was going on, he looked at me for answers. And I sit there and I was like, I said, she is right. You are God. He's like, no, we're not God. We're a representation of God and all this. And then when he got into that, I was like, well, I said, I got to go to work. I said, I got to be at work at 2:00. I said, man, we'll finish this conversation later. Because I didn't have anything for him, because I felt like where he was, it was really a waste of my time and a waste of my energy trying to get him to see it. Because I thought about how long it took me to see it, and the journey it took me to get to where we are today. And I was like, I ain't gonna be able to make him see that in 30 minutes. I got to go home and get ready for work. And then, but when I got home, I got home and started getting ready for work, I couldn't let it go because I was like, dang, I should have had something for him. Back in the day, I'd have had a verse, I'd have had this, I'd have had that. And then I thought about it and I was like, I said, the place that we are at is new. It's a new place. And there was a time where I feel, and I was thinking about what Ron was saying, there was a time when I felt like how we're feeling now. I'd go to Barnes and Noble. I'd get online and order a book. I'd start studying, start finding some material. I'd call Rev and tell him to tell me about a book or something. But where we are now, there really aren't any books. We're getting things from within. Like you can't go get a seminar to bring us along, to make me to come back and be like, oh, I heard this seminar and or whatever. Everything is forcing us to go within. And so last night I had gotten off work. I was tired. I'm like, I'm going to bed. So my daughter, she came home from school. She wanted to watch a movie, so we started watching the movie. I looked over, they were asleep. Everybody was asleep. I said, well, we're going to bed. So when I got ready to get into bed, I generally turned, I'm like, I'm going to turn the TV on. And so when I got ready to turn, when I was looking through stuff, that I had just turned the TV on, and like my TV starts advertising stuff as soon as I turn it on. And for the first time ever, like normally it advertises straight foolishness. But when I turned it on, it popped up a documentary called, I don't know if it was the world within, the world without, or the world within. It's something like that. But it was talking about both worlds. And I said, and so Nikita, she said, you gonna watch that? I said, I'm supposed to be going to sleep. I said, but I'll turn it on to sleep to it. And so as soon as I turned it on, everybody went on back to sleep. As soon as I turned it on, I woke up all of a sudden. And so it was basically talking about how everything is connected. And I found it funny because it talked about the Akashic Records. It talked about everything that we had been dealing with. But the thing that really caught my attention was it was talking about how everything is connected and how everything on the outside, everything outside of you in the physical world, how it's connected to the spiritual world, and so on and so forth, and how they both relate to each other. But the one thing that really stood out to me, it talked about meditation. And it was saying, it compared meditation to a cyclone. And I thought that was weird. I'm like, we always think of meditation as being something peaceful. But it talked about meditation like a cyclone. And it said, what stood out to me was it said, the center of the eye of the storm is where the calm is. And it said that when you meditate, your objective is to get to center yourself, to bring yourself to that calmness, to the place where everything is chaotic around you, where all around you things are flying around and just in chaos. And you bring yourself from the outside of that storm to that center. And I was like, well, dang. Like that is really how I feel right now. Like all around us is complete chaos. And there's no signs of it getting any better. But to find that place of peace in the midst of all this, and then it went on to say that everything is a pattern. That everything has a pattern, and you can find patterns that reflect in nature and find those same patterns in your body. You can go out of space and find those same patterns. You can go to DNA and find those same patterns. And it was basically showing that the creator and this creative force is already in us. And no matter how much you try to separate it, that you can't separate the two. And that really stuck with me. And I'm like, okay, where we are now, this isn't by chance. This isn't by like we stumbled on something. This was designed. And I thought about, I'm like, well, everything that we've been searching for has brought us to this point. Now we're like, okay, dang, I wish I could turn back sometime. But it turn back to what? Do I want to go back to quoting scriptures and laying hands on people and speaking in tongues? Or do I really want to walk into the power that I know this in me? You know what I mean? And so that was one of the things where I was like, I need to make this decision and be sure of where I am. And don't be uncertain. As much as I don't know about where I'm going, I'm excited to see where I end up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you. All right. You finished, Don?
Yes, I'm finished.
Okay, thank you. I think the common denominator between the dreams I had is the church. One was crumbling, and the other entrapment. Just came to me that those rooms were places of entrapment. And the entrapment caused people to put people in a state of bondage. And I don't know what the weaponry meant because it was physical weaponry. But I do feel as though it did speak to the demise of the church itself. And at this moment, as much as I would like to simply say religion, for the most part, religion is broad. But what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, is that the word that describes better than anything else the issues that we face, and the guardian of those issues that we face is the best word is the church. Church is the guardian of everything that we see that brings imbalance. It's not enough to say white nationalism. It's not enough to say Christian nationalism. It's not enough to simply say religion. Why? Because the dominant force in this society of chaos is the church. It's not simply religion. Christianity overpowers Islam and Judaism if it chooses to, because it is the weaponry of all of it. The church is not enough to say white Christian nationalism or white nationalism, because it also is inclusive of the African who at the Acacia skirmish, they were the ones who sided with Rome. So there are the church itself is the essence of what Rome is. And to say white nationalism in our minds excludes those who stand in pulpits who look like us, espousing the same thing. The crumbling of it is necessary, because if the crumbling of this church does not take place with the African first, then the crumbling of the church with white nationalism would be more difficult to crumble. Why? The life of the Christian nationalism is coming from the African who has bought into this false thing called Christianity. It is imperative that it be embarrassed. It is imperative that it be shown for what it is. The life that's been infused into white nationalism comes from the Christian Church of Africans. And it is time for us to to reclaim that energy, to take it even away from the Africans who are giving life to this dangerous entity. This entity that has sucked the life out of humanity and is sucking the life out of the physical earth around us. It is the energy that goes forth every Sunday that is infusing life into this white nationalism. We, as we reclaim the earth, as we reclaim the energy, we must reclaim the energy that is being used by those who look like us. Yes, they look like us. Yes, they are genetically, physically the same as we are. However, the mindset of energy that they profess to, that they hold to rather, and that they are feeding to our people is the same energy of white nationalism. So there is no different than the church that I saw that I was called back to, and what's going across that pulpit and what's going across the pulpit at any evangelical church in this country, in this world. The same message that the African is preaching on Sunday morning is the same message that the white nationalist is preaching on Sunday morning. They are exactly the same. And the death of the African in terms of the church, the spiritual death of that, by virtue of reclaiming that energy, we must do that just as forcefully as we have done it with everything else. And heartbreak, yes, but the overall power base that is perpetuating what's going on is being fed by the African Christian church in America, in particularly, and worldwide generally. It is imperative that we separate from it, recognize what it is, and that we deal with it no differently than we have dealt with and continue to deal with anything else. So this day, as the declarations have been made in terms of removing the energy from the hands of those who have brought suffering and death and cannibalism to this earth, as we have removed it from the barbarian, we must remove it from the barbarian mindset who looks just like us. And it is the declaration today that the African church will crumble as the church crumbled in the dream that I had, the vision that I was given. The church will crumble. And the warfare that I went through in those structures, the warfare will not take place in terms of being able to destroy the movement, the journey that we are on. The children who are being crippled by what they have learned from the church will rise up as strong entities, knowing that the universe is their source and not the church. And those females who were housed in that room, separated from men who were in control, men who were ready to do whatever the man in that pulpit told them to do. This feminine image energy will no longer be bound in a room separate from everything else. It will rise up and the walls around it will utterly crumble so that feminine energy will be in its rightful place. And if maleness, if masculinity refuses to stand as it should, then it shall die as well. There will be nothing left that will have the power to interfere with the journey that the Creator has given us. There will be nothing left, regardless of what it looks like or its origin, that will be able to stifle what is to be manifested in this earth. Yes, we do feel like a cataclysmic event is about to take place, because it is. The hell that's about to be loosened in this earth the earth have never seen the fury of the Creator as it is about to see now. All of the things that are coming to bear, it looks as though that everything is in the hands of this group of men, this group of barbaric men being nurtured by the Black church. It looks like that they have the upper hand, they have the power, they have the strength to do whatever they choose to do. And I'm telling you today that this is the last day that they will ever believe that they have the power to do it. This is the last day that the church will ever have an influence on the people of this earth the way that it has in the past. This is the last day that the life in the African church will infuse energy into the barbaric mindset of the European or anyone else who buys into it. It does not matter about Judaism or Islam. Both of them came out of Christianity, and both of them are manipulated by Christianity. And this day, the declaration is that Christianity is dead. There's no life in it. And anyone who's seeking it will be confused. They will be utterly confused. They will be as Nebuchadnezzar was. They will be eating grass like an animal, meaning that their mindset will be troubled. They will have no peace within them. They will always find trouble in their lives. They will not know which way to turn. Why? Because they are part of the problem. And the church, the African church, the Black Christian church, since it is the power source for this white nationalism, it too must fall as everything else must fall. And I'm telling you, this is the first day of its manifested demise. I'm done.
Ashe.
Shay,
Ashe.
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 so be it.
And so it is.
Anyone, thoughts or questions? Is this a good place to pause? What you feeling?
I feel like Evelyn. That's coming.
I yield. Yes, Barbara, you're right.
What you say?
I said I feel like a string on an instrument that's strumming, that's vibrating, that's resonating, it's just moving.
It's so difficult to break. The church has been a support to Black people for a long time, but it's so difficult to break away from that. It's like if this support becomes the thing that enslaves you, it's so difficult to break away from that. And it's like it's yeah, it's like ripping off the worst feeling band-aid you've ever felt in your entire life. It's like the breaking with something that has been intrinsic to Black identity since the founding of America. Intrinsic for better or for worse, and only worse over time. It's so difficult. But I think that is just been past due. It's part of what it just has to happen.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think, Pastor Richard, your own identity has been tied up so much with attempting to improve it and attempting to maintain the lifeline of light into the Black church. That's why it's so difficult, because it's been a part of you your entire life. But I believe the part of the reason it's difficult to know where we're going. It's just because the process of letting go of what prevents us from moving forward is just so difficult. Collectively, individually, that's just it's traumatic. It is as if a part of your body is being pulled away from you or off of you. But I
Now,
will say,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
I'll just, it's like a cast that's been on your arm for too long and you've grown attached to it. And you have to break it to get it off. But I just want to say the healing that is on the other side of the in some ways traumatic separation, just because we don't know collectively, like we don't know what's on the other side of that. The healing that is on the other side of that is just everything on the other side of it is unimaginable in a positive way. Anyway, thank you. I'm done.
Ron, this is Evelyn. Do you think we were being attacked and did not realize it? Because
No,
no?
no, no,
Okay.
no.
I'll stop there.
There are no attacks. There are only opportunities for awareness. The things that we have been experiencing are things that we were seeing, not as we saw them as an attack, but they were opportunities for us to see what needed to be done. The foundation of the power base of bondage is the Black church. We were not being attacked. We were being pushed into a corner by the Creator so we could see clearly that which we did not really want to see subconsciously. Because, as Nick said, we have been intertwined with it all of our lives for generations. You cannot attack God and expect to win. It is God showing us that the humanity, that the naturalness of our being was connected to this power base, and the naturalness of our being must disconnect from this power base and destroy it as we move away from it. This power base is the melanated power of the African, and you can attacking God is just like a man trying to attack a brick wall with his bare hands. It is futile and it is damaging to him. And that is why the infighting has begun with the Christian nationalists, with the European mindset. It has begun. And you have not seen infighting until you see African infighting to maintain this idiotic Christian doctrine and policy and polity that has held humanity in bondage for all of these years. It is time for the explosion to take place, and it cannot take place if we believe that there is anything powerful enough to even consider attacking who we are. There is no one and nothing anywhere in this universe that can attack the universe itself. Therefore, everything that appears to be an attack is a figmentation of our imagination, and it must be cast down as we cast down everything else. And the ease with which it is cast down is more difficult than it is to hold an object in your hand and just remove your hands from it and let it fall. That's the ease with which we are able to dispense with anything that thinks that it can attack this journey or attack God itself. We are Elohim, and there are no attacks. There is no such thing as enlightened ones being cast down from enlightenment. That in itself is a misnomer. There is no such thing as light. God, as light being able to fight light itself. Either you are light or you're not. In the darkness, that we talk about, the only spiritual darkness that exists is wisdom itself. The darkness of earthly wisdom is darkness itself. It is the chaos. The chaos itself is material darkness. However, the darkness of spirituality is wisdom, and the light that comes from this wisdom is the light of everything that exists. And there is no light in the chaotic existence of darkness in this earth. The mindset of the barbarian, there is no light there at all. It has no soul. It has no sense of self. It cares about nothing else other than greed. And it is in this earth for the purpose of pushing us in the corner and forcing us to be who we are. There is no such thing as a battle to take place. We no longer battle. We speak and it is. And because of the tongue being as creative as it is and the words as powerful as they are, when we speak words those words are one with the universe, and nothing can attack the source of its being. And this darkness in this earth, this material darkness of which I speak, came from the same source, but it is the material with which we were given in order for us to make sure that Elohim could have a physical experience in this earth by virtue of us taking this chaotic earthly darkness and repurposing it and molding it into something that is positive for humanity, something that is enlightenment itself. The energy of it could never have taken place if it had not usurped the energy of Kemet. And now that energy has been reclaimed, there is nothing to keep it stable. It is just like being in a lab with an unstable chemical. The explosion takes place when it reaches its peak of instability, and it has reached its peak of instability. And the thing that made it reach its peak of instability is the removal of the Christian black church from it, taking the power from that pulpit, taking the power from that preacher, taking the power from that deacon, taking the power for all of these things that has infiltrated the mindset of the African, taking all of that energy out of it and looking to the sun for the energy that we have been endowed with, and understanding that the reason that melanin is brought in, is manufactured through the rays of the sun, is to remind us that we are the energy in this earth, and only light can give us the strength and power that is necessary for us to bring balance to this celestial ball that the Creator has intended for us to dominate. And this is the day that the domination takes place, manifests. This is the last day, as I said, for the power source of Christianity to exist. So no, we are not being attacked. No more than a man can attack a brick wall with his bare hands. I'm done.
Arshay, and thank you for reminding us of who we are. Thank you.
Shay.
Don't want to leave anybody out. Don, did you have something earlier that you wanted to add? Have you?
No, I'm good now. I'm good.
Did you have something, Audrey? Okay. Anybody?
Ashe.
Ashe. Well, a lot has been said. It has a short time, a little over an hour, but we've talked about a lot here. Let's meditate on this. Let's stop right here and pick this up tomorrow morning, if you guys don't mind. Okay.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Ashe, everybody.